So we're going to be getting on our mats in a few minutes, and there's just a few things that I really want you to be aware of before we start up. One, of course, by watching this broadcast, you are accepting responsibility for your own bodies and minds to be safe on the mat. It's really important that we don't overextend or go past our range of motion. That's important for me to know that you know that. All right, so the layout of the class is going to be first a few moments of mindful meditation and contemplation. Then we'll touch in with our breath to make sure it's ready to use at its full capacity during our practice. Then we'll move into just some gentle warm-up, stretches, yoga postures, and then we'll get into the body of the class. There'll be some standing postures, some supine or laying postures, and then we'll close the class with, again, some quiet contemplation. There'll be times during those practices that you will be welcome to keep your eyes closed or be mindful about what's going on the screen. That's all up to you, and I'm sure that you'll have a good time. Just go ahead and get your mats out. Find a place that you won't be disturbed. And we'll see you on the mat in just a few minutes. So welcome back. Let's begin with the first part of our yoga class this morning, which is quiet mindfulness contemplation. So bring yourself to a place of relaxation and understand that you can either lie down or be sitting. It's up to you. And I always suggest that you just gently close your eyes, finding yourself centered, peaceful, but yet aware of your surroundings. Begin to recognize your senses. A sense of feeling, how you're sitting, the sense of the length of your spine, how you're holding your shoulders, the placement of your neck and head. You're welcome to go ahead and do any adjustments that is going to bring you to a place of better relaxation and alignment. You can recognize the sensation of the clothing, around the ankles, the back of the knees, how your shirt hangs on your shoulder and bunches underneath the arms. The sensations of the fingertips and the tips of the toes. And even though you have closed eyes, we can move to our sense of sight and recognize if there's anything there showing up in that warm, friendly darkness behind your closed eyes. If images come to pass, just acknowledge them and let them go. There might be colors, glimpses of thoughts that come into images. And maybe move to your sense of hearing. Sense what's in this room around you. Just allow your sense of hearing to move around like radar, recognizing and moving on. And you can widen this out into past the walls of the room, into the house, into the space where the house occupies, into the outside, into nature. Just hear what there is to hear. And we can move to our sense of taste. Recognize if there's anything lingering there. Or is it neutral? Let's gently move on to our sense of smell. And again, can you recognize anything? Maybe you just recognize the coolness of the in-breath. And that whisper of the out-breath. Just become aware that you're breathing. And then recognize the quality of your breath. Recognize the belly moving in concert with the breath. Relax the belly so the breath can expand. And then watch the breath as it moves back towards the back of the body, as the navel moves towards the spine. And feel the gentle response of the inhalation returning. And with it, another gentle expansion into the belly. Then become mindful of the spaces after the inhalation and the exhalation. Those pauses between the breath. And I invite you to wallow in that space. Until the exhalation gently returns all on its own. And then recognize the space at the end of the out-breath. And again, a completely different feeling. The lungs are empty. You just wallow in that space until the in-breath returns naturally. And with your next inhalation, begin to follow the breath as it magically arrives in the belly. And as the expansion continues, you can feel the progress of the breath moving up the front body, past the navel, past the chest, up to the collarbones and into the space between the shoulders. There's that pause. And then the exhalation releases as if it travels down the back body. Again, another space, another pause. And allow that in-breath to return, traveling, widening, broadening, expanding into the body. Just follow that for a few more repetitions. Feel how that exhalation gently removes any tension. Feel the tension just melting off of the shoulders, releasing from the back of the eyes and the jaw. And allow your body to settle into the space of quietness, a place where you notice the thought, but you're content to just release and let it go. Recognizing also the sensations of the body as well, in that same pattern of acknowledgement and releasing. Settling step by step into a place of pure contemplation. When thoughts come, offering distraction, just acknowledge them again and let them go. I'll leave you here for a few more moments. So again, just be mindful about the length of your spine and think about grounding down, rooting down into the earth, the sit bones, the outer legs. Think about your spinal column like the trunk of a great tree, much like a conduit between the earth and the sky. Move the shoulders up towards the ears and then gently roll them back and down. And return yourself to your breath. And again, you're welcome to do this practice with opened or closed eyes. Allow the belly to be completely relaxed. We're going to move into Pranayama, or breath practice. Breath is the foundation of your yoga practice. It allows you to identify those difficult times, those times that you might be in a holding pattern, and those times full of complete movement of breath and body and spirit. So we're going to do a practice today which is called Viloma, and it's a 3-part breath. And we were going to try to fit in all 3 parts. So let's see how we do it from here on in. So today I'm going to guide you through a 3-part breath called Viloma. And we're going to start by dividing the breath into 3 parts. And it's much like dividing the body, the upper body, into 3 parts. The lower part, the lower belly, to the navel. From the navel into the chest, around the heart center. And from the heart center up to the throat. So let's just simply begin. Let's divide that first breath, the first inhalation, by 1/3 to the belly. Take the second part of that same breath and come up to the heart center. Expanding into the last third of that breath up to the throat. And a smooth, even release of the out breath, returning back down to the pelvic floor. Let's do that again. From the pelvic floor to the navel, from the navel up to the heart center, from the heart center up to the throat, to complete that breath. And a smooth and complete out breath. And the first third, and you'll recognize a pause there. The second third, and another pause. And the third to the full breath. And then exhale all the way back down again. Let's repeat. The first third and pause. Second third and pause. To the collarbones and pause. And a complete exhalation all the way back down. One more time together. First third to the navel. Second third to the heart center. Third to the throat. And release all the way back down. Now continue just at your own pace. Recognize the challenge that it is, that simple ability to divide the breath, the concentration that it takes, the discipline. And then let's just do one more round. And let's leave the inhalation as smooth and complete as one. And let's divide the exhalation. So a full and complete inhalation. And let's just pause here. And let's exhale the first third to the heart center. And let's exhale the second third to the navel. And a complete exhalation to the pelvic floor. And then inhale, coming all the way back up. First third, throat to the heart center. Second, heart center to navel. Navel to pelvic floor. Pelvic floor to the navel. Navel to the heart center. Heart center to the throat. Complete inhalation, back up again. And exhale from the throat center to the heart. From the heart to the navel. And from the navel to the pelvic floor. And a deep inhalation, back up again. Last time, from the throat to the heart center. From the heart center to the navel. And from the navel to the pelvic floor. And release. Coming back into a full and complete breath. All right, good job. So our next is we're going to get down onto our mats if you're not there already. And a couple of thoughts. You might want some props to help you out. A chair is also really handy. Your mat, of course, your water, maybe some blocks and a belt or a tie, a scarf or a towel, or a book or several books that you might use to sit on. And also a cushion to raise up your sit bones for the first part. And also for the closing Shavasana, you might want to grab yourself a blanket. So go ahead. If you haven't got those things assembled by your mat, take a moment or two to do that. All right, let's come into a forward leg position known as Dandasana. Now I'd like you to think about your toes for a moment. Just give the toes a bit of a wiggle. Admire their movement and the ability to move independently. So Dandasana begins with the feet and then moves up into the legs. So to begin with, we're going to Move the ball of the big toes forward. This will bring the little toes back, and then just line them up. So it's almost as if you're standing. The feet are flat, the toes directly over top of the heels, and then begin to bring length from the heels right up to the sit bones. So in yoga, we always strive to achieve attention without tension. So this is a little bit of a fine balance. So as we work through all of these postures, we will engage and then we will disengage without movement, releasing all tension that might be holding the posture, yet the body still seems aligned. And so it is. So go ahead. Follow through from the heels up to the sit bones. And then release the tension that you've built up to do so. Just revealing a tension. And then from the sit bones up to the shoulders. And you can feel that the chin is parallel with the earth. The spine is lengthened. You might feel some length coming from the side waist or even the space beneath and below the shoulders. Move the shoulders back and roll them gently down and bring your palms to the earth. Or if this feels uncomfortable and too extending your range of motion, then you can just gently come up onto the fingertips. And then come into the space between the shoulders. And then go back to the space at the shoulder blades. And then lift up through the crown of the head. And as the shoulders adjust and the front of the chest opens, the hands can gently make more contact with the mat. And then again, check and release any tension that you might have built up. Really revealing that soft spot, that sweet spot that's available right in the middle of the practice, where the breath is even and the body is at complete balance. And then rotate the hands so the fingertips point backwards, opening the shoulders just a little bit more. And from your inner eye, because we can't see behind us, just use the ability that you have inside to align the fingertips with each other. And then gently extending the arms and creating a gentle forward fold. You might feel a pinch at the shoulder blades. That's okay, as long as it's not more than your range of motion. Gently lift the collarbones as you extend maybe a little bit more forward. And then when you get to your full range of motion here, which has a lot to do with the arm extension, you can take a deep breath in and with your out breath, come forward with the hands, either to the toes or resting gently by the knees or the shins. Soften the elbows and release all tension out of the shoulders. And just spend a few repetitions watching your breath. And then gently extend the arms, softening the shoulders always, and come all the way back up. and then back to Dandasana. And then gently release. And let's come into a wide leg configuration. I would always suggest that you keep your heels on the mat. So familiar again, the legs are in Dandasana. There might be quite a bit of tension in the upper inner legs. If that it goes beyond your range of motion, you can just tip the toes inwards to release that tension. You might find it accumulating too much. But again, think about the extension of the legs. And then in this position, I'd like you to just recognize the sit bones and come to the forward edge, if you can, of the sit bones. That will tip you a little bit forward. And then bring your hands about shoulder distance apart, soft elbows, of course. Thinking about the length of the front of the spine, right from the pubic bone all the way up to the collarbones. Lifting gently. And if you wish, if your range of motion allows you, you may drop the elbows down onto the inner thighs. Keep the collarbones lifted since you keep your gaze forward. And just imagine that the collarbones also have a gaze like the eyes forward. Good, and then walk yourself back up. And let's bring that right heel into the perineum. Again, check your posture. This is so important in yoga, that we get linked up with where our bodies are and a deep awareness of alignment. And then take your hands to your shoulders and guide your shoulders and even the midline of the body so it lines up as well as you can today with that left leg. And let's just wander down that left leg, keeping the right sit bone down. And again, your gaze is forward towards the toes, through the eyes, and through the collarbones. You can stay here with your hands on the shin or the knee or the quadricep, or you can go for the toe. Always continually moving this right shoulder forward. This is where the length is challenged right now. We want to always keep the right and the left shoulders in as much balance as possible. And if this means adjusting, that means coming up and keeping that balance. Right. We're going to either leave the left hand resting on the shin or come to the toe. Drop the elbow down to the knee. Sweep that right arm across the chest. Straighten the left arm as you come into alignment with the right. If we check out the length from the left wrist to the right wrist, we'll notice that we're pretty much in a straight line. Beautiful. Now drop that left elbow down to the space on the inside of the left knee and reach straight up. Taking a deep breath in, reach overhead. And always adjusting, releasing down. Keeping that upper shoulder back and the collarbones lifted. And then sweep yourself up, extend that left arm, and come back to the left leg. Reach past the left leg and come all the way up. Inhale to the center and extend that right leg again. Take a deep breath. Then reach through with the
Let's
right
go over to the other
arm
side,
to
the right side, again lining over
Take a
the
deep
right
breath
leg
in,
as before.
and then open the left arm straight the way through, extending the right, long and complete. And let's check as we did before, making sure that the arms are aligned, collarbones are lifted, and then drop that right elbow down, reaching up with that left arm, keeping the shoulder well away from the ears, reaching and lengthening. Collarbones are lifted. Gaze is directly ahead. And then reach overhead, using your exhalation to deepen the practice, using the inhalation to charge and nourish. Elbow on the inside of the knee if that's right for you today. Continuing lengthening. Your breath is smooth and complete. And then inhale, come all the way back up. Extend that right arm with the left. Collarbones lifted. Good, and then sweep that left arm through. Come back to where we were before. Foot, shin, or knee. Wherever you're at, the shoulders are completely relaxed. Collarbones are following through as the gaze is. And then reach through, coming all the way up and forward. And exhale, extend that left leg. Taking a deep breath in here. Excellent. All right, I'm going to turn sideways on my mat, and I'm going to come up into a tuck. So this is where I bring my heels in as close as I can. I just comfortably wrap my arms around my knees, doing your best. No tension on the knees. This is not about how much the knees bend. So if you need to modify it, this is just fine. You can open up the feet away from each other so the belly and chest fit well together between the knees. And think about the length of the spine. Thinking about lengthening up the front side of the body. Tucking your hands behind the knees. Come into a balance. Shoulders are back, collarbones are lifted. And you'll recognize often that when the collarbones lift, so lifts the chin. But the chin doesn't necessarily lift all on its own away. It still stays relative to the movement of the collarbones. Moving the shoulders back and then just separating the knees from shoulders a little bit. And then you're welcome to lift the shin. This is known as half boat. We're also increasing the distance between shoulders and knees. Taking a deep breath in. And exhale, move into bound angle. Forward folding. Bound ankle pose. Soles of the feet are together. Outer legs drop down towards the mat. Coming forward, webbing the hands around the toes, but don't lift the toes up off the mat. Just leave them there. And forward fold. So to modify this, we also go forward with the elbows. And again, keep your collarbones looking forward. Take another deep breath in. Come all the way up, and let's go back into boat pose. So find your balance, and this balance is the sensation is it's slightly behind the sit bones and in the forward edge of the tailbone or sacrum. There's a little bit of a space there. And if it's not comfortable, feel free to make yourself a bit of a nest out of a blanket or a cushion. So again, hands are tucked just gently behind the knees, separating knees from shoulders just a little bit more. Lift the shins up. Extend through the heels, toes up to the ceiling. You can release the hands if you wish. We can go a little bit further if you wish also. Taking a breath in here, and then coming back out. And again, soles of the feet together, bound angle pose. And then modify it however it feels right for you. If you want to go down a little bit further into it, just keep that forward part of the body lengthened and long and the collarbones lifted. All right, last time, half boat. Coming up into that balance position. Extend through the heels, lifting up through the collarbones, extending if you want. You can still stay here and hold on if that's the best thing for you. Feel free, modify, modify, modify. Extending, charging. Feel the enthusiasm of the in-breath and the release of that exhalation to find that sweet spot to rest in. And then come all the way back and settle yourself again in bound angle pose or cobbler's pose, Baddha Konasana. Again, collarbones lift. Find how much range of motion is available for you today. And then inhale, come all the way up. Bring your knees up back to where we began. A nice gentle tuck. Actually, this is a full forward fold, and I'll show you a bit later on how we get just that one step closest into a very large forward fold like this. Quite comfortable position. And remember to modify it to make it fit for you today. Think about lengthening up through the spine, reaching out through the crown of the head, of course. Take another breath or so. Good, and then drop the knees off to the right and come into all fours. Toes pointed, wrists underneath the shoulders. They might feel that they're a little bit more forward. And of course, hips right over top of the knees. Flat back. So we're just going to do a nice little extension for the spine and the surrounding muscles. So come into this flat back position where your arms are engaged. The belly is strong. You can feel the engagement of the core. Take a deep breath in here, and with your out breath, push away. Bring up the collarbones and look over the shoulder to that left hip. Keeping the hips right over top of the knees. Don't sway the hips out to come back into your view. And inhale back to the center. Deep breath in here and exhale off and look over that right shoulder. And then inhale back and exhale off to the other side. Inhale back to the center and exhale off to the other side. One more time, coming all the way up, off to the left, and back, and off to the right. to the center. Just stay here for just a few breath rotations. And with your next exhalation, send the sit bones back towards the heels. Leave the arms where they're at, moving into what's called modified pose of the child. Arms reach, lengthening arms and back as one. And release the forehead down onto the mat. Also making space between the knees for belly and chest. Taking a few more breaths here. Take a deep breath in. And with your out breath, bring your hands back and come up and sit on your heels. All right. So this might be difficult for several people or some people. You're welcome to have a cushion between your buttocks and your heels, elevating yourself, or you can simply just stay on your knees if that's better for you. All right. We're just going to take a breath here. If there's some tension in your knees, you can just gently rake up from the knees up into the quadriceps. And take a few breaths. All right, so from where we are, now we're going to move forward back into or onto all fours. And we're going to move into downward facing dog. So this is my favorite way of doing it. I'm tucking my toes under. This actually gives your toes a nice big stretch. Then I'm going to leave my hands where they're at as I press back. And I can tell right here I just need to stretch my arms just a little bit further. So the length of the back and the arms become one. And then I'm going to drop my forehead down onto the mat. I'm going to take a deep breath in here. And with my out breath, I'm going to lift up my sit bones towards the ceiling, leaving my head down as much as I can. Just take some gentle heel walks, lengthening the back of the legs. Now, in my school of teaching, downward facing dog isn't so much a practice of straightening the legs. It's really a practice of aligning arms and back. All right, and so to begin with, let's just come into alignment. I'll show you and guide you through the adjustments this first time. So bring the toes slightly closer together than the heels. Keep the knees really soft. Fold the lower belly down onto the upper thighs and tip the tailbone up. Press strongly the arms away so it feels like we're stretching the mat away from the feet. And collarbones tend to want to go towards the feet. Drop the head down, looking directly between the feet. Taking a deep breath in here. Fully charge with the inhalation and release with the exhale. Take one more breath in, and with your out breath, dropping the knees down, pointing your toes back, and releasing. Modified pose of the child, and I'd suggest you leave your hands where they were in downward facing dog. Taking a few cleansing breaths here. We've got 2 more to do. So come up, tuck the toes under, go back, forehead onto the mat. Take a deep breath in here. Exhale, lift up, adjust, feet, legs, tailbone, arms, and the head. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. think about nourishing the body with the breath. Exhaling all of the toxins out of the body, the worry, the stress, anything that's bothering you. One more breath in, and let's exhale back down again. And release. Modified pose of the child, toes are pointed. We've got one more to do. You're doing really good. All right, here we go. Tuck the toes under. Go back. Take a deep breath in here. Moving as always with that exhalation. Coming strongly up. Let's pull that navel in with that exhalation. Really encouraging a squeeze of the digestive organs. Strong arms, release the tension of the neck. Take one more deep breath in right here. And exhale, dropping the knees down. And let's move into full pose of the child. Hands back by the feet, palms upward facing. Widen the knees if you need to. Making space. Release the shoulders down. Forehead on the mat. Nourishing breath. Find your peace.
From pose of the child,
All right, now
come up,
beginning to transition.
find yourself standing
onto
at the end of the mat.
Let's dive up from Tadasana to Uttanasana. Release those shoulders down, lengthen up from the side waist. Press down through your foundation. And exhale, dive all the way down. Uttanasana, full forward bend. Your toes are lined up with your fingers. Take a deep breath in here. Exhale, step the right foot back. Step the left foot back. Just plank for a moment. Lengthen through the heels and the crown of the head. Take another deep breath in here. Drop the knees down. Point your toes. So going down into a press down into Cobra just once. Keep the inner elbows forward facing, not inward facing, but rotate them gently forward so that the elbows go straight back. Tailbone stays up. Move all the way down, chest to the floor, and then through into Cobra. And we're just going to take a breath or two here. Make sure that the fingertips line up with the front of the shoulders. Move the shoulders back. Roll them as if they're rolling towards the elbows. Take another deep breath here. Come up on all fours and all the way back. Leave your hands where they're at, and we're going to move through into Cobra. So we're going to stay really low. Elbows stay down towards the floor, although don't rest on the floor. Moving the shoulders over top of the elbows. Elbows are still free. Shoulders down over top of the wrists. Chin towards the mat. And come all the way up. And let's do that again. Reach back in modified pose of the child. Take a deep breath here. Stay low. Move the shoulders over top of the elbows. Tailbone up, shoulders over top of the wrist as you scoot down. Now extend through the legs strongly. Press the pelvis down into the earth. Keep the navel on the mat. And then come up. We've got one more. Reaching back with those sit bones. And you'll find yourself scooting back. So please do just bring the hands back a couple of centimeters or an inch or so that you'll find that that's ample. Take a deep breath in here. Move the shoulders over the elbows, staying low. Tip the tailbone up, belly sort of drags down. Shoulders over top of the wrists. Scoot down, press the earth away and come up, extending through the legs. Take a deep breath in here and come up onto your knees. Back to modified pose of the child. Excellent. Good. Coming all the way up. Cross the ankles. Scoot onto your buttocks and come back into the middle of the mat and lay yourself down.
From the knees up to the chest, extend your legs
This
into
is a practice
Shavasana.
of letting go all tension and distraction of the body. So to set this up, just widen your feet gently about hip distance or a little wider apart. Let the toes drop out to the side. Walk your shoulders in so the upper backs of the arms make contact with the mat and allow the palms to gaze upwards. This is a practice of letting go of all distraction. To begin with, just allow the fingers to curl inwards. And allow your senses to drift. You're noticing the movement of your breath, smoothly coming in, gently releasing. Allow for a deep and nurturing rest. And as you still the body and the mind, visualize yourself floating on an infinite ocean. Here you can see the vastness of the sky from horizon to horizon. You feel weightless as you float on top of the surface. Noticing the movement of the ocean, the swell of the in-breath, and the deep release of the out-breath. Recognizing the vastness of this infinite ocean above the sky, the universe, the thin surface of the ocean, and then its infinite depths below. And with each wave-like motion of the breath, you gain a clear vision of your consciousness. Not just the nourishing breath, but also the vital energy that flows in on the wings of the breath. So I hope you enjoyed your yoga practice on this Canada Day. I wish you a really great day. Let's respect social distancing, and so we can get over these tumultuous times smoothly and easily. All right, so from Harrison Hot Springs, I wish you all the best. If you're interested in getting in touch with me, you can follow the information on the screen just as it comes up. crystalspirithealing.ca. Thank you so much. Be blessed.